Do people understand why Jesus said that to have paradise, you would have to be a child again? Because what is a child? A child is naturally surrendered. They are naturally surrendered. They lack the developed self-will, ego, or resistance that adults often build up, making it a model of pure dependence and trust. That is why Jesus said it. It meant you were going to have to completely surrender. Yet for 7,000 years, man has, from England to America, has tried to tell itself we're instituted by God. Yeah, because people aren't getting it. But and then they say to themselves, and I'm not trying to say they're all wicked. They just, none of them knowing God. I'm talking about Christians, that say we have to set up the kingdom for God. No, God doesn't want you to, no. Because again, this is what he wants, because it says, no, we're only going to do it your way. Only your way. But that means true surrender. It doesn't mean let's create the government we think God wants. It means, no, you need to start at surrender. I know it goes against everything Donald Trump says, but he can take it up with God. Somehow I think he probably knows that in this case, surrender is the true path to success. It's the true path to change. It's the true path to God returning Eden much sooner, because it's always what he was looking for. And it's really simple. After the original sin, they were spiritually dead, as I said yesterday. Does it seem like it's a good idea when you're spiritually dead to go running on self-will? No. But because spiritually dead, not knowing better. Thinking, running on the human wisdom. I have all these letters after my name, and I'm so educated, and I'm so special, and I'm so wealthy. And to some of these people, they love this kingdom. They do. But it's not God's kingdom. Because none of them have surrendered. The true surrendered life, that's the only way the heart is transformed and the mind is. This is currently what we live in. It doesn't matter what country. And God knows it. And God waits. He waits for that certain percentage of people. Are they going to realize it means complete surrender? It doesn't mean, you're letting, because you're not truly surrendered, you've allowed stumbling blocks, as if you're supposed to give to Caesar when God didn't want that. He understands it, but he understands, but what he knows is that you haven't surrendered yet, so you're not ready. You're not mature enough to receive paradise. That's really what it is. If you want to be, here's the great irony of all of it. If you want to receive the gift of paradise, then you have to be as surrendered as a child. Meaning it's not your will at all. You surrender and wait. Yeah, nobody here will get it. But I do. But again, it came because of being an alcoholic. Because, unless you reach that place of, just everything is gone, and you think there's no hope. And again, that's God's greatest joy. If you reach a place of hopelessness and helplessness and you turn to God, it's the most glorious day. The angels will sound the trumpets loud. Because another one, finally, because then the total surrendered, I give up, is then when God can melt away all the identities, all of the ego, all of the false attachments you've put on yourself, that I'm this, that I'm that, and he just gets rid of all of it, wipes it away, and for a short time you're just sort of in a fog. who am I? I don't even know who I am. Where am I going? What are we doing? And then all of a sudden one day God shows you this transformed heart that you didn't even know he was transforming in this transformed mind. And you realize you're real, God. I want to know you, God. What else? What else? Tell me all the secrets. That's what I was like 30 years ago. See, I had 2 years of sobriety in my early 20s, but I knew looking back. See, I hadn't done a thorough fourth step. The fourth step is a total looking in here, stripping away, really it's a lot of stripping away the identity, but stripping down to the very core of everything, okay? And I really hadn't done a thorough job. There's a reason the way it's phrased in the fourth step is, having to do a thorough fourth, meaning, you uncover every stone. So I had like 2 years sober, and then I relapsed, okay? And then I stayed drinking for a couple more years, and I want to say then I ended up back in at 26 years old, somewhere around there. Yeah, 25, 26. And it was 4 months after that God did this revealing to me of this new heart and mind, and I'm like, I didn't even know you were doing anything. All I had been doing is showing up to a meeting every day, just listening. Again, I had a bad attitude. I had a bad attitude for a while, even after my attitude got better after I realized God was real, because that was so exciting to me. It was the greatest moment ever. And ever since then, I'm just like, I want to know you, God. I want to know you, like a little child. And God, as it says in the Bible, you seek God and he will draw near to you. But man, they want to do it both ways. They think, no, we have to create the kingdom. You can't. You're in the fallen world. The only paradise that anybody should be trying to work towards is God's. But that doesn't appeal. So the reason you get LGBT and you get Turning Point and you get Charlie Kirk and Nick and all of them on the right and all of them on the left is because they all want to put all their crazy identities, because they don't know any better either, on everybody, okay? And say it's about your dreams and your desires and your wants. And yeah, and it's not that God's against that, but you're in the fallen world. Now, to the rich and the wealthy, they wouldn't understand what I'm saying, but then let's remember, okay? Jesus said that for a rich man to get into heaven is like a camel going through the eye of a needle. And not because God's against money, it's not. In fact, that whole thing reminds me of Chris Farley. Do people remember Chris Farley, the SNL character, the comedian? Oh, I loved Chris Farley. Well, he lived in Chicago. He was a drug addict, and yet he lived in, I think it was the Hanover building? I'm saying that wrong. One of the big, tall skyscrapers in Chicago, okay? But he used to go to the Mustard Seed. The Mustard Seed is on Skid Row. It's an AA club. But he would go into meetings where the people living on the street would come in. Nobody'd ever bother him. Nobody ever going up asking it, because they knew why he was there. And yet even he had said in a statement once, it was money that was it was because money kept leading him back there. Felt so bad then when he died, But he really wanted it. He really wanted it. I mean, you really want it if you go to the Mustard Seed in Chicago, because that's right on Skid Row. So, here this famous actor would go in there, and he was trying so hard. And that's the problem with this desire, all these desires you have. So that's what you learn when you're an alcoholic at your bottom. And unfortunately for somebody like Chris Farley, his bottom was death. But, it doesn't have to be, okay? But it is true that the greater the fall you have, the greater opportunity if you grab onto God and just totally surrender everything to him, that he'll show you the way. But that's what he needs everybody to do, not just alcoholics and addicts. Everybody needs to be surrendered, not just in one area of your life, in all areas. I know it's the opposite of what this world tells you, but in this case, surrendering to God is true success.